And it goes a little something like
You all summer and after fall I'll keep you all summer and after fall I'll keep
Hi, so today I'll be reviewing Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. So this book's genre is kind of all over the place because it contains several POVs of different characters in different settings, but I would say that the main two genres of this book are science fiction and historical fiction. It also kind of comes off as like a young adult novel, but I feel like that's subjective. Anyways, Cloud Cuckoo Land is a really inventive book that shows how vivid, imaginative stories can transcend time and space to reach all kinds of different people. It emphasizes the importance of preserving ancient texts so they can still be shared in modern times. Each of the protagonists are wounded loners in the midst of conflict who sought comfort from a Greek book written by Diogenes, I think that's how you pronounce it, called Cloud Cuckoo Land. Same title of this book. Overall, I would give this book a 9 out of 10. It's so close to perfect, but I do have like a few issues with it. So without further ado, let's move on to the characters. So this book has 5 main protagonists. First, we have Constance, a girl living on a spaceship in the 22nd century, heading for a planet that can support life in order to escape from Earth, which was basically like a wasteland there. Pretty clear climate change commentary here. Next, we have Zeno, a gay dude living in the modern times. His storyline is actually split into 2 parts. First, we have him as like a teenager / young adult fighting in the Korean War, and then we have him as an 80-year-old teaching children in a library. Next, we have Seymour, a demented teenage boy who was trying to like bomb a public structure or something because he was traumatized as a child by urban development because it destroyed like a swath of forest around his house that he really loved. Yeah, this was also set in the modern times. And then we have Omer, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. He's a boy with a facial disfigurement who's recruited into the Ottoman army trying to take down Constantinople. Yeah, there's a pretty big time difference here. This is in like the mid-1400s. Parallel to Omer's storyline is Anna, a girl living inside Constantinople with her sister. They're like tasked with embroidering garments, I think, but Anna apparently sucks at it, so yeah. Now, these characters probably seem unrelated and random, but they're all connected to each other by one thing: Cloud Cuckoo Land, an ancient story written by a Greek author. Now, that's kind of what should be going on, but they're actually connected in very concrete ways. Besides Omer and Anna, whose storylines literally like merge in the end, the other characters are in fact interweaved with each other. After Seymour goes to jail for attempting to bomb the library, he's sent to work on Atlas, a technology that Constance uses several centuries later on a spaceship. During his work on Atlas, he hid several messages that Constance found later on. It's hinted that the version of Cloud Cuckoo Land that Zeno translated was the same book Anna found in the 1400s and Omer hid in a tree hollow. And apparently Constance, while using Atlas, discovered a copy of Cloud Cuckoo Land that Zeno translated. So these characters are like connected to each other in very small details that the author scattered throughout the book, which I think is pretty interesting. One issue I found was that despite the fact that each of these characters come from very different settings and have many unique storylines, I cannot tell their personalities apart. Like, they all seem like the same person to me when I'm reading. Constance and Anna just kind of blend together to me, and so does Omer and Seymour. The only character I felt had a really distinct presence was Zeno, whose personality and backstory was probably expanded on the most. I felt like I knew him better than the other characters, and I look forward to reading the chapters that he narrates the most. He was definitely my favorite, and his character death was so sad. Like, I hated it so much, but it was good though. It was like good, it was like bad, but in a good way, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But the issue is he's my favorite character because I know more about him than anyone else, and not because I know about everyone equally and I like him the most. I feel like that's an issue. Does that make sense? I feel like it makes sense to me, okay? The difficulty in writing multiple POVs is to make each of the characters stand out, and I don't feel like the author entirely succeeded in this. Don't get me wrong, each character has a very engaging and intriguing story arc, but they just aren't really distinct when it comes to personality. I believe that this book is definitely more plot-based than character-driven. The other book I reviewed recently, Yolk, by Mary H.K. Choi, the plot is a tool used to drive character development. In this book, it's kind of the opposite. Like, the characters are tools used to drive the plot and express a message. So this book's plot can get really confusing. There are 5 different POVs, as I've said before, but there are actually 7 plot lines because Zeno and Seymour have 2 plot lines each. Like, it's honestly kind of difficult to keep track of what's happening in this book. It's definitely like a very ambitious project for the author to take on. I've read multiple books that have several POVs for the characters, one of which I've already reviewed. But they're all characters in the same story. This book is about different characters in completely different stories that somehow get meshed together into one thing. The first third of the book is so confusing because so many people and plot lines are being presented all at once. But the second third is really, really good because all of the loose threads start to get tied together and everything starts like click and make sense, you know? And the ending is great as well. But this is definitely like not an ending kind of book. Like, it's a book you read for the journey and not for the conclusion. Overall, I think the author pulled this off pretty well because I felt like this setup is so tricky. Like, it could easily lead to the plot feeling disjointed and messy. The middle of the book is definitely the best part to read though. And the beginning is just weird and the ending is alright, but yeah, it's a difficult plot to get into, but once it clicks, you'll love it. The writing is sublime and beautiful. I love the imagery, and there were several lines that stood out to me. Overall, the prose is glorious, and if you're someone who reads a book for its writing, this is a good match for you. This book feels ethereal and immersive. It takes the suffering and pain of ostracized, lonely characters and aims to transcend those miseries by making life into something magical with a good story. So the themes of this book are pretty straightforward, like leftist stuff. First of all, climate change is bad. Constance and Seymour's storylines both express that message, although Seymour's does kind of lean more into like urban development rather than climate change. The second theme is gayness. Zeno is gay and he experienced lots of discrimination because of it, so I feel like that was a very important message in this book. The third theme is the power of being different/unique, I guess, because a lot of the characters have something that sets them apart from others in their society, for example, Omer and his facial disfigurement. Finally, the most important theme is about how powerful stories are and how important it is to preserve ancient tales. The whole point of having 5 different characters with storylines that are centuries apart is to show that a single story that's thousands of years old can transcend time and space to reach all of these different characters who are in need of a good book. Okay, this review is over. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was entertaining to you and insightful as well. If it was, like, comment, subscribe, and share this video, please. Bye!